It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Well, even Jake Tapper from CNN knew that what was reported yesterday was not good. Here's an audio cut from Jake Tapper.
Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped, and it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
Well, of course it does.
Yeah.
I mean, the information was out there before. You didn't hear Republicans, or excuse me, you didn't hear Democrats. I have heard Democrats in the longest time say that Trump colluded with the Russians. We all knew from the legal filings that we would see from Durham occasionally over the last year and a half that Trump was exonerated. Everyone now knows, if you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, there are people that don't pay attention to politics, but if you've been paying attention to what goes on in the world today, you know that Donald Trump did not collude with the Russians. In fact, what Durham showed in his report is exactly what we said. The only party that colluded with the Russians was the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC, and that was with Iggy Danchenko, who created the vast majority of the dossier. He just made up stuff. They had a drunk fest one time where he made up a significant portion, the salacious portion of it, the hotel room, the P-tape, all of that was just created in the mind of somebody who was drinking at that time, a Russian national who had ties to Russian intelligence.
Yeah. And
so the only evidence that exists in the world that in 2016 a political party or a political candidate colluded with the Russians to hack or change the outcome of the election was the Hillary campaign. We know now that both Obama and Biden knew that and got the warnings from the intelligence agencies that Hillary was going to attempt to set up Trump. We knew that they knew that in July of 16. So, we've talked about the two enterprises that Hillary had in her campaign that were set up to make up lies about Trump and then sell them to the media and to law enforcement, and then step back and say, hey, look, this is being reported by this paper. Look, the FBI is investigating this. And it was all the creation of the Hillary campaign all along.
Yeah.
We now know that. I mean, that's why the FBI didn't fight it. The FBI simply said, well, most of what Durham has recommended we're already doing. And Durham said, look, there's not a lot of changes. You just need to abide by what you're supposed to be abiding by, which is the law. And you're supposed to be law enforcement officers and enforcing the law, not letting politics lead you.
Yeah. And, of course, it sets the tone. We'll see what the GOP does in the House and what we might hear from Durham. It tells the story. And one of the things we've talked about over the years since Durham was assigned was whether it was going after Sussman and the indictment there, or, ultimately the report. Even if no one goes to jail directly based on the work done by Durham, the story will be told. There will be a number of facts, and in this 305 pages, it brings together all the facts that we have been following all these years. And I saw a lot of reaction yesterday as it came out, well, too little, too late. Well, Durham was always going to take his time with the report. You and I had talked about that on and off the air. That is his method, because he wants to make sure it's complete and that it's right. And that's his reputation. So we always assume that, because we've been joking, where's Durham? Anyone heard from Durham? Does Durham even exist? And then yesterday that question was answered.
Boom. Yeah.
And so, the idea, though, is to tell that story. That's what the report does. And unlike the Mueller report, it's a true story. It's based on facts. It's based on findings, not suspicions, not things that basically were conjured up by the DNC and the Hillary campaign and others within the Department of Justice. This is the true story of what happened.
Yeah, biggest political dirty trick in American history.
It really is. And it's quite unfortunate. And, if there was the political will, something might be done about it. But there's the question would be, okay, what effect does it have on any election cycle? Well, the fact that it comes out in May of 23 and will quite possibly play out this summer with the GOP bringing Durham in to answer questions. We'll see. I don't put a lot of confidence in it affecting the election one way or the other, and that's because people condone this. They saw what was going on. The facts were available to everybody, to anybody and everybody. And we followed it from the beginning, and not everybody did. And we talked about how you would be standing with people, you and I both kind of experienced this, you would be talking to people, and you would line out what happened, and they would have no clue. Their eyes would glaze over going, are you serious?
Well,
what? And they would just kind of, zone out for a minute.
Well, that's the one thing now with the FBI, they're not saying it didn't happen.
No.
Nobody is defending and saying Hillary Clinton didn't do what she did. Nobody is defending Comey anymore.
Right.
So now it's going to be easier to get out there. And when I talk about it to people, they're going to go, oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, Hillary actually did set him up. Yeah, exactly. I mean, do you approve of that? And I think that many Democrats do approve of it. We go to the late Ed Schultz, who was on MSNBC, that said anything to win. Lie, cheat, steal. You do whatever it takes to win. Now, they didn't win on that. Remember, they lost the election, so she didn't win.
Right.
But they did everything they possibly could, and her campaign did, to attempt to interfere in the election. Understand, too, that the one prosecution and conviction for Kleinsmith, that was lying on a FISA application. Mm-hmm. That was basically where, he was trying to say that Carter Page was a foreign agent against the United States when, in fact, he was an agent working for the United States. Mm-hmm. And he did that on purpose, knowing that he couldn't get a FISA warrant. That should have required a significant amount of jail time.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get it doesn't mean that it takes away from the seriousness of the actual crime. He's an FBI agent who lied on a FISA application. If we're not going to jail people for doing that, it's enough where the FISA court goes beyond what many people think should be the constitutional limits of government to get a warrant, and the fearfulness of that, by the way, the liberals used to have over secret warrants. Mm-hmm. And now, it's no problem. Oh, he lied? No problem. He was going after Trump. It's okay to lie. It's okay to lie to get a secret warrant. I mean, the seriousness of that issue, irrespective of the punishment handed out, is something that should concern all Americans. But what we do have is the truth has come out. We now know that there was no collusion with the Russians except for the Hillary campaign in 2016. Trump was not a traitor. Trump did not commit treason. In fact, if you look at it and you want to throw out those labels, because the Democrats did, those labels from Democrats should be thrown at Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it was only the Democrats and the Hillary campaign that colluded with any Russians to try to change the outcome of the 2016 election. And we finally know the truth. Nobody's really arguing it. We know things like Adam Schiff, who claims he wants to run for Feinstein's seat.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, he was the biggest liar through all of this.
Yep.
He was pathological in his line that Trump colluded with the Russians, and now he wishes to be the senator from California.
Yeah.
Will California hold him accountable for his pathological lying?
No.
Will they hold him accountable for lying to the American public about what intelligence he actually saw? And he lied to the American public because there was no intelligence, and he claimed the intelligence showed clearly that Trump colluded with the Russians. Adam Schiff was lying that entire time to the American public.
Yep.
And if it's okay with the Democratic voter, then we do have a problem in this country.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see any outrage on the left about Adam Schiff.
Nope, none.
None. You don't. And you won't. You won't see people, you might get the whole man on the street thing on, oh, yeah, that was wrong that they did that, if they even know about the Durham report. But there's not going to be an uprising. Nobody is outraged on the left about this.
No.
And if you're not, then you condone it. And don't be surprised if it happens to you.
And think about it, it's the, after Watergate, but it's the Democrats that are actually condoning law enforcement as a political arm of the particular party that they wish to be in power. Talk about a banana republic mindset.
Yeah. Well, weaponize the DOJ to any extent, as long as they're using that weaponization in my favor politically.
And it shows you what a fraud Comey was.
Yeah.
Comey was a complete fraud. A higher loyalty? What? A higher loyalty? What was the loyalty to? Leaking illegally? Lying? How far does it go with somebody like Comey? I'd like somebody to do an investigation of everything that Comey did.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'd read that book. I told you during a break off the air, I don't know how much I would pay for a 4-day fishing trip with John Durham. Everything off the record. And for a couple hours a day, you get to ask him anything. Oh, man.
I want to know what's in the 39 pages that are classified.
Yeah.
It's one of the things they talked about,
Right.
Durham, and the fact that it took so long because you can't get through that firewall of U.S. intelligence working with other intelligence. Even for an investigation like this, you can't get the transparency that you want.
Well, look at the current situation where they're trying to get something that's not classified.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because of blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. No, we're not going to give you that information. To the oversight, the people that are supposed to be looking over this material and watching over the Department of Justice, they're our eyes. But no, you don't get to do that, even if it's not classified.
866-90 Red Eye.
If U.S. rice producers get so-called trend or normal yields, then compared to last season,
we're looking at an increase in production
A big increase, this from USDA Outlook Chairman Mark Jekanowski. USDA projecting a U.S. rice crop of 192.7 million hundredweight, which would be about 20% more than last year.
That reflects a rebound in production of medium and short grain rice in California, where last year production, really took a hit because of the mega drought and inability to access irrigation water. That's certainly less of a concern this year, so production is back up in California.
USDA projecting a record high domestic use of rice and a 21% boost in exports. Even so, rice stocks will grow during the marketing year, sending USDA's all rice price forecast down 9% to $17.60 a hundredweight, but still
pretty strong prices.
Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report is made possible by Cenex Roadmaster XL Premium Diesel and Citgo Lubricants.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. To put this in perspective, just so people know, that this means that everything in the whole Russia collusion thing, what we went through really 3 years plus with, all of it was false.
Yeah.
Not only was it all false, but it was all a hoax. It was actually set up by the Hillary campaign. Everything was set up by the Hillary campaign and the DNC. Trump did not collude with any Russians at all. He did not attempt to change the outcome of the 2016 election by hacking or any other means with the Russians. As the Durham report says, there wasn't any evidence at any time. Zero.
Yeah.
He
notes, even after the FBI had offered Steele $1 million or more for him to corroborate any of the allegations in the dossier, Steele couldn't do it. They offered him more than $1 million to back up what he was saying, and there was nothing there.
It was all a creation of the Hillary campaign. Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. When the Mueller investigation started, the whole Mueller report, they knew. They never had any evidence to start out, in the middle of it, or at the end of it, that Trump committed any crime at all.
Right.
By the way, this sort of throws out that, remember, after it, well, Mueller didn't do the obstruction of justice. Well, now that we know everything we know today, that sort of gets blown out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now that we know that the person, if you're talking about who might be more criminally culpable, a Trump for obstruction of justice or for Comey, how he handled the FBI, I think any fair-minded person would sit there and go, well, no, Trump didn't do anything wrong. He knew he wasn't hiding anything. Actually, all the fault goes to Comey.
Right.
A higher loyalty to himself.
Yeah.
And his political narrative, and not the truth, and not working as the head of the FBI, as an investigative agency, but as political activists to promote one campaign and hurt another political campaign.
Yeah.
But there was never any evidence. None. At any point in everything that you heard over those years, Adam Schiff out every single day. Trump, the collusion is there. I've seen it. He was lying to you.
Yep.
And we said it at the time that he was lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we were right.
giving you 70% each night. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, the debt ceiling. Okay, I have an audio cut here. The debt ceiling.
And the only body in all of Congress are the Republicans who raised the debt ceiling. And we did it way in advance before Janet Yellen told us when the deadline was, because we didn't want to be here. So no, I don't think we're in a good place. I know we're not. This ignoring the problem, thinking it's going to go away, he could bumble his way just into a default like he did on the border. That's what we didn't want to have happen. So we raised the debt limit. We're protecting. I don't know. Maybe his secret plan is to wait till the last minute and pass our bill.
Meanwhile, polling shows majority of Americans, 59.2%, oppose raising the debt ceiling with and without there being some restrictions on government spending. The results of the poll from Trafalgar were obtained by Breitbart News. The results appear to support the recent legislation from the House Republicans that raised the debt ceiling while restricting spending. The poll showed that 22% say the debt ceiling should not be raised even if there are cuts. 22% say don't raise the debt ceiling under any circumstances, which, by the way, you have to.
Yeah, based on the interest rates and the interest on the national debt, it's going to happen.
Right. But 22% hold that. 37.2% say the ceiling should only be raised if spending cuts are included. So that's the total of 59.2%. 40.8% say the debt ceiling should be raised without there being any spending cuts. So that's where you are there.
Yeah, and, you get into the questions then about, okay, for those that say there should be cuts, okay, where? What do you cut?
Well, I think you're going to hear what the majority of Americans, both whether they're Republican or Democrat, believe, which is wrong.
Foreign aid.
That if you cut foreign aid and wasteful spending, then you've basically cut everything you need to cut in order to have fiscal responsibility. That couldn't be further from the truth, yet the majority of Republicans and Democrats both believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, to a pollster, oh, no, we need to do the responsible thing. Okay, great. We're going to start making cuts to these programs. Whoa, 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 whoa. No. I like those programs. Well, the problem is that foreign aid is just a drop in the bucket. The bigger problem, the much bigger problem is the train's already left the track or the station. So and it's going to leave the track soon. We're on our way. It's just a matter of how soon we get there. We're going to cross that threshold at that point when we can no longer service the interest on the debt. And when that happens, it will be chaos.
Right. I mean, you service that first, and you cut, but people don't want the cuts.
No, they don't.
And the biggest problem we have in the budget right now is the one over the last couple of years, which isn't talked about enough, is just the interest on the debt that has skyrocketed due to the interest rate hikes. And so we've probably added $500-600 billion a year here over the last year and a half with the interest rate hikes of just interest alone. So even if you don't increase spending, if you just kept it at, as the Republicans are talking about, just a 1% increase, you're still in a massive, massive hole in funding a lot of programs that people will scream bloody murder if you cut them.
Yeah.
Or if you change them at all. And that's just, and the other problem is the interest on the debt and, of course, entitlement programs, which are just swamping the budget, absolutely swamping the budget, and will continue to do so. and something's going to have to be done. You said earlier that whoever gets into office, if it's, for example, if DeSantis gets in the office, he's going to have to deal with, because if he's in for 8 years, then that takes us to 2032. We need a solution by that point.
Yeah.
So if a Democrat outside of Biden gets in and the momentum's there where you can win a second term, Democrats or Republicans, everybody is going to have to deal with the problem of Social Security and Medicare.
Right.
And so we're going to hold off till the last second, which more likely means that you're going to have a combination of cuts, premium increases, and extending the age out as to when you can collect.
Yeah,
it's a combination of all of those, or of some of those.
And that's just one of the issues. That's just one of the problems, the fires that you inherit if you're the next president.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
I wouldn't want the job.
No.
Nope. Meanwhile, at the border, what's going on at the border? The president saying, well, we had encounters down. Still, what was it, 6,000 and then 4,000? Mm-hmm. Still way, way above what is normal. But even Democrats, for example, Kathy Hochul, governor of New York, on with Al Sharpton saying the problem's going to be absolutely insane to this point. Okay, let's play another audio cut here. If I could put it up, please. Thank you.
Well, Reverend Al, hearing the numbers going down is good news, but it's small comfort to us because the word we're getting is that the majority of these individuals who are crossing, and still high numbers, are coming to New York State. And we already have over 61,000, over 40,000 housed in New York City. They're bursting at the seams, and Mayor Adams is doing the very best he can in a difficult situation. We have stepped in $1 billion from the state budget I just enacted. We also are giving legal help to people, and now we're in the position of trying to help find places for these individuals. I asked the federal government to give us emergency funding. I'm asking for federal installations, like military installations, to help out. Let us have a large field and operations. We can put up the tents. You're going to start seeing people living in tents, not just on the border, but in the streets of New York and across New York State, because we've reached a breaking point.
Governor of New York, I was joking yesterday when I said, we may get to a point where one of the liberal mayors of Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, whatever, will start coming out and stating we can no longer support being a sanctuary city. I didn't know within hours that would actually happen. I had not seen any previous story, but Mayor Adams of New York going to a judge and saying you need to revoke the sanctuary city status of New York City. We can't. I don't know what that would do. I don't know how that would free them up. I don't know if he's saying we have to pay. I don't think a sanctuary city policy says you necessarily have to pay. What it says is, for the most part, and I haven't read the sanctuary city law in New York, but I always thought sanctuary city simply meant we're not going to cooperate with the federal government.
Yeah, we're not going to use our resources to cooperate with the feds on this. And if I'm the judge, I might respond, well, Mayor Adams, then you need to go through the proper means. If this policy was enacted, it was enacted by the people locally who represent the citizens of this city. So if you want to change it, then put it up for vote or whatever you're going to do. City council needs to act on this. Why are you asking me for this? This is what the people wanted. And if they want something different, then city council and you need to change it together. Don't ask one person to overturn something that was done through the people.
You think about how unbelievable that is. If you would have told me just a year ago that, illegal immigration is getting to be bad, and Abbott and DeSantis are doing this, and this is going to cause cities like New York City to actually state that they wish to, the mayor to state that he wishes to revoke sanctuary city status. And who knows, Chicago might be next.
Could be.
With the complaints coming in that this could actually happen. I would have told you were nuts. But because I didn't, I didn't know the numbers that would be going to New York City because they're overwhelming. But you just would have never thought that, because that was sacred ground and has been for Democrats. I mean, they have been so proud of their sanctuary city status when they actually don't have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. They're happy with it. Now that they have to pay for it, it's the worst thing ever. So they only have misogyny when it comes to misogyny. They only have, I'm sorry, they only have xenophobia and misogyny. Throw that in there, too.
Yeah, why not?
They only have xenophobia when it comes to the cost. Mm-hmm. But they're very pure when they talk about taking care of everybody for no money at all, which is impossible to do. But it's just when you see it, Adams said, the law of Sanctuary City was in place long before I became mayor. I'm following the law as a law enforcement person. We follow the law. We are now in court, now today, asking the judge to revisit this law to deal with the humanitarian crisis, because even when they decided to put that law in place, no one thought they would be dealing with the humanitarian crisis of this proportion. Yeah, when they sat there and put out this invitation, all legal immigrants come to our city. You're welcome here. We will not cooperate with the federal government. And that's the interesting thing, because sanctuary cities is for illegal immigrants. It's technically not for migrants. So I don't even know if I'm a judge, I'm going to say, well, these are migrants. They're legally in the country. You are under no authority. That the sanctuary city law doesn't even apply to migrants.
Yeah, right.
Because they're legally in. Because
I would also review the law and say, well, did you mean it to be limited? Limited to the first, 2,000 that show up after creating the policy?
Yeah. This is one I throw back and say, look, your city council has to respond.
This is exactly where I would do it. That's the way I would do it if I'm a judge. You created something that resulted in something, and now you want the court to fix it. You got to go back to the same means that you created it with and deal with it.
No. Now the Democrats, this is great. The Democrats normally have been trying to overturn laws passed by Republican Congresses, by activist judges. Now that you want a liberal circular firing squad, now they're asking liberal justices
to
act as activist judges to take away Democrat law.
Right.
Because the Democrat law is working as it was intended.
Yep. People are showing up.
Wow.
By choice.
Yep. 866-90-RED-I.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Did you see where CNN's numbers or primetime viewership dropped beneath Newsmax?
Wow.
And you saw that News Nation got rid of, what is it, Blue Bloods? The show they were running
their
during
highest
middays.
Ratings.
Yeah, their highest ratings, and now they're going with they want to be news 24/7. It's like, well, your News Nation, you should be.
That should have been the case a long time ago. We thought.
I was looking at something like Cuomo. I mean, they're pulling in. Who's the other one there? Is it Cuomo? Somebody's pulling in like 71,000 total viewers.
Wow.
It's almost like just having a signal on.
Yeah.
A test pattern.
You're
talking about a nationwide
There are a number of cats on YouTube that squash that. And that they don't even know how to read.
I was reading though I was reading an article yesterday about just media overall, and they talked about News Nation, about how they were going to be, and we pointed out, we're going to be straight news. We're going to be talking news. It's going to be news. It's going to be news. Then they hire Cuomo.
Yeah.
Saying, well, he's an unbiased. It's like,
yeah,
you just blew your credibility.
right.
Have you no self-awareness?
Right.
It's like you hired Cuomo.
Are you
we said
aliens
the same
that just landed on the planet a couple of months ago? Do you not know the whole thing?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.